Hello everyone, welcome to Bharat PSU Manthan, and today we have a very special guest with us. Let's welcome Mr. Harshil Doshi, VP and GM, APAC and MESA, DataBahn. Hello sir, how has been your experience as of now? I believe you're enjoying right here.
Absolutely, Mega. Thanks for having me here. I just arrived at the Veloxx PSU Manthan, and I'm looking forward to having some very productive conversations with some top government PSU representatives, and hoping to share some knowledge. Yeah, so looking forward to it.
Bharat PSU Manthan is a platform of learning and knowledge, and now it's time to learn from you. Sir, India is one of the highest data generators of the world. Around 20% of data is generated from India, but we have the lowest per capita GDP. So, how do we manage this paradox, especially when it comes to cyber security operations?
Thanks for that question, Mega. Right, and as you rightly said, India is one of the highest data generators of the world. In fact, if you look at the number of UPI transactions that we do, it's actually surpassed Visa now. Right, so we are actually one of the largest financial transactions digital generators. Now, the another data point that you mentioned is also very interesting. Though we might have surpassed Japan as the fourth largest economy in the world, our per capita GDP is still one of the lowest in the world, right? Which means that our data is growing exponentially, but our budgets are not, right? Which means that there is a lot of pressure on CIOs and CISOs across enterprises and government organizations to manage this huge amount of data with minimum cost, right? That is where a company like DataBahn comes in, right? So we are a data pipeline solution which sits between your data generators and data consumers and acts as a filter, right? So you can think of us as an oil refinery, right? In the digital world, we say that data is the new oil, but you can't consume oil directly as crude. You have to convert it into either petroleum or diesel or whatever to kind of run the world, right? So that's what we do, right? We kind of take raw data, we filter out the noise, and only send the relevant data to your analytic solutions like big data platforms, SIEMs to run your SOC, observability platforms to run your IT operations, so that a huge amount of data can be ingested at a very low cost, right? So it's like a win-win situation for all, that you're getting the right data at a very minimal cost. Now, while we do that, we also automate a lot of the data engineering functions. So there is a lot of less dependence on humans to write configurations, to bring that data and so on and so forth, right? So that is what we are aiming to do here, to help especially countries like India, where we are a huge population, but with cost dependencies. So I think we'll be able to add a lot of value here.
Well, I believe the DataBahn is actually bringing a solution to the PSUs. So my next question for you is, sir, what is DataBahn as a data pipeline organization aiming to solve for enterprises and government when it comes to data optimization?
Exactly, right. I mean, like I mentioned, data pipelining is now becoming a mandate for large organizations and government PSUs because of the sheer volume of data, right? Typically what happens is that a big data solution, right, like a data lake or a data ocean, they have their own collection mechanisms, they have their own storage mechanisms, right? But what is happening is that while collecting the right data, you're also collecting a lot of junk. You're collecting a lot of unwanted information, but you're still paying a lot of license fees. You're deploying a lot of infrastructure to store that data, to manage that data, so on and so forth. So what DataBahn does is that we've kind of thought of this as a futuristic architecture and decoupled the ETL layer from the analytics layer. And what we do is that we collect all the data, but we filter out the noise, right? So that you don't have to analyze everything, right? I'll give you a simple example, right? Cybersecurity is like healthcare, right? Mega, do you wear a wearable like a Gabbett or an Apple Watch, like anything like that to track you do, right? I think every second or third Indian is wearing a wearable to track their steps, to track their heartbeats and everything, right? That's too much information for you to process, right? And what it is doing to you is that you are getting confused which data to look at, which data to not look at, right? But imagine a solution which can tell you that only specific information is required, everything else is noise for you, right? Which will not put anxiety in your mind that am I sleeping well, am I eating well, right? Same thing is with cybersecurity. There's just so much data that CISOs and CIOs are today confused as to which data to look at, which data to actually process, right? So that is the intelligence that DataBahn brings in, that hey, only these cybersecurity events are important for you to understand how risky is your organization. Everything else, don't bother, right? So that intelligence is what DataBahn brings in, because our founders have a very long history of threat research. So we actually bring in a lot of out-of-the-box content to determine what is important and what is not. Secondly, we are also building the industry's first data reef, right? If you look at a concept of a reef, it has the most exotic aquatic life, also the corals, but you don't have to dive deep into the ocean. You just have to be in the reef, right? So we are building a data reef which has the most important information, so that your queries become very simple, right? So we are actually solving a very important data problem for India and for the world. That's what DataBahn is doing.
And that's quite impressive. And I believe that saves up a lot of time also.
Time, resources, money, everything, right? Because these are valuable resources, right? So if I can do the same job in some seconds, why would I spend an entire day, right? So that's where it is, and that's where AI comes into picture, right? So I'm sure you must have heard, right, that there are some fantastic AI use cases. For example, the Morgan Stanley CEO mentioned that AI is now able to write a red herring prospectus in 5 minutes, in comparison to Ivy League graduates who were taking 3 weeks to do the same thing, right? So I think we have to ride the wave of AI, right? And DataBahn is doing just that.
Well, that was just mind blowing to me also. So I wish you all the best. I wish DataBahn all the best. And thank you so much, sir, for joining us and sharing your perspective here with us. All the best.